The story behind Bugatti is one of both success and tragedy. To understand what I'm saying, we have to go back a century to the basement of a house in Germany. Ettore Bugatti had just finished building his car, so he decided to leave his job and start up his own company in France. Over the next few years, he created some of the fastest and most luxurious cars under his name, becoming one of the best engineers of his time. But despite his success, it all came crashing down overnight when Ettore was forced to give away his company, never knowing what the Bugatti brand would eventually become. So buckle up, we're going on a journey through Bugatti's incredible rise and fall, and how it returned to become the luxury hypercar brand we know today. Ettore Bugatti was born on September 15, 1881, in Milan, Italy. Raised in a semi-wealthy family, his father, Carlo Bugatti, was an internationally acclaimed furniture and jewelry designer in Milan, and his grandfather was a renowned architect and sculptor. This artistic talent ran deep in their family and was passed down to Ettore's younger brother, Rembrandt. Rembrandt, 3 years younger than Ettore, was already a prodigious sculptor, even more gifted than his older brother. Many historians believe that Rembrandt's brilliance was the reason Ettore chose a different path and did not follow in his family's footsteps as a sculptor. However, Ettore's artistic heritage would manifest in a different way. From a young age, it was clear he was a natural-born engineer, and even without formal training, he was already understanding complex designs. At the age of 16, Ettore repaired a broken tricycle with ease, impressing his father. Carlo recognized his son's talent and encouraged him to take an apprenticeship at Prunetti and Stucci, a factory known for making sewing machines and bicycles. Ettore agreed and joined the factory at 17. Just a year later, Ettore designed his own motorized tricycle and took part in a Paris to Bordeaux competition. Powered by 2 de Dion engines, Ettore's tricycle was a glimpse into the mechanical world of automobiles and speed. It was here that Ettore found his calling. In 1900, at 19, Ettore left Prunetti and Stucci and set off to build his own car. He was a perfectionist by nature, meticulously designing every detail of his automobile, from the engine to the body parts. He supervised the creation of all the car's parts, a practice that would define his approach to car design throughout his life. Ettore's talent and attention to detail caught the eye of the de Dietrich Company, which had factories in France and Germany, and frequently hired him to design and build vehicles. Despite his young age, Ettore received his first professional contract at 19, but as he was still a minor, his father had to co-sign the contract. Ettore moved from Milan to Niederbronn-les-Bains, Germany, where he worked for a few years, developing automobiles and even entering car races. In 1903, he built his second car for the Paris-Madrid race, with unique modifications, including placing the driver and engine low in the chassis to improve center of gravity and aerodynamics. However, officials found his design too unconventional, banning the car from racing. Ettore's style was ahead of his time, but soon his innovations in design would become the norm in race cars. In 1906, Ettore decided to leave de Dietrich. At the time, cars were built one at a time by skilled craftsmen, making them costly and accessible only to the wealthy. Most cars were used for racing, a sport quickly growing in popularity across Europe and America. In 1907, Ettore met Barbara Josephine Mascherpa, who would later become his wife. That same year, he signed a multi-year contract with the German gasoline engine manufacturer Deutz in Cologne. At Deutz, Ettore developed heavy-duty engines for large-scale vehicles, which was the industry standard. However, Ettore began developing his own ideas about lightweight, smaller vehicles that could outperform larger models. In the basement of his home, he began building a new automobile, the Bugatti Type 10. By 1909, Ettore had completed the Type 10, a 2-seater vehicle powered by a 1.2-liter 4-cylinder engine weighing just 365 kilograms. Capable of reaching top speeds of 80 kilometers per hour, this car was groundbreaking. Ettore decided to quit his job and drove his Type 10 to the Alsatian town of Molsheim, where he founded his own company, Automobiles Ettore Bugatti. Ettore was among the first to use racing competitions as a platform to showcase the capabilities of his cars. This exposure increased his popularity and helped establish him as one of the best car designers in the country, setting a precedent in the car industry. The year 1909 was a significant one for Ettore. He completed the Type 10, founded his company, and welcomed his first son, Jean Bugatti. While the Bugatti Type 10 was impressive, Ettore saw room for improvement. The Type 10 served as a prototype for the Type 13, one of the most popular cars in the automobile industry. With enhancements like rear axle leaf springs and a 16-valve cylinder head, the Type 13's 30-horsepower engine allowed it to power the 300-kilogram chassis to competitive speeds. In 1911, the Type 13 finished second in the French Grand Prix, cementing Bugatti's reputation. However, the production of Bugatti's cars came to a halt when World War I broke out. With the war stretching on, Ettore returned to Milan, then to Paris, where he collaborated with the Duesenberg brothers from 1915 to 1916. Together, they developed the Bugatti U16 engine, which consisted of two straight-line engines sharing a crankcase. Although the U16 wasn't successful, this collaboration led to innovations in the overhead camshaft and straight-eight engine designs. After the war, Ettore returned to Molsheim, now part of French territory, and resumed building lightweight sports cars. His Type 13, with a multi-valve engine, achieved several victories, including wins at the 1920 Le Mans and 1921 Brescia races, where it won 3 more times. The Type 13 became known as the Bugatti Type 13 Brescia and remained one of Bugatti's most successful models, with over 2,000 units built before 1926. In 1924, Ettore introduced the Type 35 at the Grand Prix in Lyon, which became Bugatti's most successful racing model, winning over 1,000 races during its lifetime. Bugatti's racing successes continued into the 1930s, with 2 notable wins at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1937 and 1939. Ettore and his son, Jean, decided to expand into luxury cars, resulting in the Type 41 Bugatti Royale in 1926. The Type 41 was a masterpiece and the longest, most luxurious car of its time, accessible only to royalty and aristocrats, earning it the name Bugatti Royale. But a worldwide economic downturn soon threatened to bring Ettore's company to its knees. 3 years after the launch of the Royale, the Great Depression hit, collapsing the market for luxury cars. Sales of the Royale plummeted, leaving Bugatti on the brink of bankruptcy. In response, the French government commissioned Ettore to design and manufacture rail cars, a project he accepted to keep his business afloat. He designed 80 successful Bugatti railcars, saving his company. However, just as Bugatti was beginning to stabilize, a workers' strike erupted at the Bugatti plant in Molsheim. Workers demanded higher wages and better working conditions, leading to a tense standoff. Although Ettore eventually agreed to their demands, the event created a lasting distrust between him and his workforce. Meanwhile, Ettore's reputation as a brilliant mechanical designer grew. Alongside his son Jean, Ettore produced renowned models like the Atlantic, the Royale, and the Type 57, which won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1937 and 1939. Jean was an ideal successor to Ettore's legacy, equally passionate and innovative. Yet in an instant, Ettore's life would change forever. In June 1939, Bugatti won Le Mans with the Type 57 for the second time in 4 years. 2 months later, John Bugatti organized a road test with the Type 57, taking the wheel himself. During the drive, a cyclist appeared out of nowhere. In an attempt to avoid the cyclist, Jean swerved and crashed into a tree, dying instantly. Devastated by the loss of his beloved son, Ettore's world crumbled. To make matters worse, the German army invaded Alsace weeks later, taking over Bugatti's factory. Ettore had anticipated the threat, relocating some machinery to Bordeaux, but it was not enough. The Germans demanded he produce war equipment, which he refused, leading Ettore to sell his company for a fraction of its value. Ettore fled to Paris, where he focused on designing aviation engines and torpedo boats, but none of his efforts succeeded. Despite spending most of his life in France, Ettore was an Italian citizen and did not have French citizenship. This led to accusations of collaborating with the Germans after the war ended, complicating his attempt to reclaim his company. Ettore sued the French state to recover his assets but lost the case. In 1944, Ettore's wife, Barbara, passed away, marking another painful loss. At his lowest point, Ettore visited Molsheim one last time, only to find his factory in ruins and his mansion abandoned. His health deteriorated rapidly as he applied for French citizenship in a final attempt to regain his company. By 1947, Ettore's health had worsened due to lung disease and a stroke. Just 10 days after his company's assets were returned to him, Ettore Bugatti passed away. With no one in the family able to run the business, the Bugatti factory shut down and was abandoned for many years. For decades, the Bugatti company remained dormant until its revival in the 1980s. In 1987, Italian entrepreneur Romano Artioli acquired the Bugatti brand, reintroducing it to the world. 5 years later, Bugatti unveiled the EB110, a car capable of reaching 213 miles per hour. The EB110 quickly gained popularity, but only 139 units were produced before Bugatti went bankrupt again due to mismanagement in 1995. In 1998, Volkswagen acquired Bugatti, setting the stage for a new era. The company teased several concept cars at motor shows in the late 90s, before going quiet to focus on development. Then in 2005, Bugatti launched the Veyron, a supercar that broke records as the fastest production car in the world, reaching 254 miles per hour. The Veyron remained in production until 2015, when it was succeeded by the Bugatti Chiron, another record-breaking model. In 2019, Bugatti shattered records again with the Chiron, which reached a top speed of 305 miles per hour, making it the fastest production car in the world. This is the story of Bugatti, the dream of a man whose legacy continues to live on decades after his tragic death. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Until the next one.